welcome to the OPL for a huge night of esports. My name is Michael Higgins, and tonight everything is on the line as by the end of the evening we might have a new Split 2 legend and the possibility of a three-way tie for the last playoff spot. Let us know your thoughts, hashtag IamOPL, or you can tweet at _Oceania. And joining me to break down these games as they happen are two of the biggest brains in esports. It is Indiana Frosker and Black and Barento Raz Muhammad.
Hey.
G'day guys, how's it going? I wanted to ask you, I mean, at the start of this split, did you think it was going to end up last week, you know, final night, who knows what's going to happen? Did you think it was going to be this close, Frosco?
We probably should have expected that because if you think back to how the last split ended, they literally went to Game 5 into a pentakill from Radier, so we should have seen that it was going to be like a really tight race up until the very last moment, but typically, no, this is pretty unheard of for the OPL standards.
The only one thing that's really kind of something you could kind of guess is basically Chiefs, Direwolves, and Legacy taking it to the top 3. Everything else, I don't even know. Like that, everything else is a surprise to me.
We are living in historic times. At the start of this split, we weren't sure what was going to happen. Now we're here last week, final night. All right, well, let's take a look at the standings. So currently in first place, we see Legacy, but Direwolves are hot on their heels heading into the final week and could force a tiebreaker if they take the OPL Legends belt tonight. Chiefs locked in that third place spot last night, but Abyss, Avant-Garde, and Tainted Minds could find themselves in a three-way tie after this evening, with Sin and Hellions destined for that relegation tournament. Now, did we ever get a ruling, like an official ruling on whether or not Hellions going 0-10 mean they've got to do the nudie run? Did head office ever get back to us on that? Or
I don't think they could go through much more embarrassment at this point, like, in all honesty.
Sure, let us know your thoughts. Hashtag IamOPL. Should they do it?
I'm just happy I know what a nudie run is now. That's...
All right, well, let us take a look at the schedule for tonight's show. Last night, Abyss 2-0 Hellions and Chiefs took down Avant-Garde 2-1. But tonight, we start with Tainted Minds, looking for a chance at finals, taking on Sin. And later on, our headline event, Direwolves and Legacy, face off for that OPL Legends belt. You can feel the tension in the air, and depending on what happens tonight, like I said, very well be seeing an extra night of OPL this week if we need tiebreakers. So I'm going to hand it over to Fish, who's going to take us through the possibilities and probabilities.
Thanks, Ingers. We still have two possibilities of tiebreakers to be played on Wednesday. First up, it's still going to be the first place tiebreaker that's between Direwolves and Legacy. In order for that to happen, Direwolves have to pick up a 2-0 over Legacy in the second match of tonight. And we still have the possibility for a three-way tie. Yesterday, we saw Abyss take down Hellions as well as Chiefs take down Avant-Garde. So in the first match of tonight, if Tainted Minds can take down Sin, that means we'll have a three-way tie between Tainted Minds, Avant-Garde, and Abyss. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Fish. Now, last night, Frosco, you were on record saying that Abyss were your favourites. Spawn was saying he's a fan of Avant-Garde. Raz, I want to get your thoughts. Who do you reckon is going to take up that last finals spot?
Oh, my God. The funny thing is, I am going to go Tainted Minds.
He just freaked out. You're like, oh, man, I don't know what to do.
The reason why I'm going Tainted Minds, it's not because I'm trying to be, kind
not
of
scripting.
unique. Right, exactly, right? It's because I feel like Tainted Minds actually have like a focus, because all three teams, or at least Avant, they're a team that have great like skill, a lot of skill, but I feel like their macro is I'm not it's kind of disastrous. It really is. So that's my point on
But your
Avant.
pick is,
but if they could be better in any of the top 3 teams. That's the problem. And of course, I think
You're still talking about Tainted Minds?
No.
throwing shade, Frosco.
No, I just and I have to like clarify this point is it's not scripted. It's not like we sat down and was like, team, okay, you support Tainted Minds, you support Avant-Garde.
Team.
Yeah, it's literally just this is how close it is, and you can actually argue one of these teams of like Raz just said it yourself. It's a rock paper scissors effectively.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to our first match of the evening. Tainted Minds take on Sin. If TM win this, they can find themselves in that three-way tiebreaker for third. So let's take a look at the lineups. Starting with Tainted Minds, Predator in the top lane, Zahi in the jungle, Omni is their mid laner, Lost as AD carry, and Rosie in support. And acting as a potential spoiler for this sweet threesome on the cards for tomorrow night, we have Sin Gaming. Squiggle in the top lane, Juve in the jungle, Rymaster mid lane, Raps as AD carry, and Rogi in support. We couldn't very well see the Tainted Minds on their way to the semis. As you know, those are being held right here at the right Game Studio. Let's start with a bit of analysis. Backstage, Frosco, you were talking about how the top lane is all you're going to be looking at during this matchup.
No. I said the top lane's where you start to look at. It's not everywhere we look at because it's Tainted Minds and Sen. So let's start from the top and let's work down because obviously the bot lane's going to be the most important for Tainted Minds. You got Squiggle versus Praedyth. Now, unfortunately, Praedyth came out with this identity of being a carry-oriented top laner, and he kind of fell flat on his face. But obviously, Tainted Minds, they have a lot of faith in him, getting his toes wet, starting to get into the vibe of going to professional league. Obviously, they think that there's something there. Squiggle, on the other hand, wasn't as hyped up as Praedyth, and he's only really been surprising on kind of Jax. So I would call him having a limited effective champion pool, but this definitely isn't a game of carry top laners, but this is simply, I think, probably Praedyth's easiest test in terms of how the top lane talent is ranking in the OPL, because right now, we have a lot of really good top laners. We've got Tally, we have Chippies, we have Pac-Man, we have Swiper, Paradise going off everywhere, so not to put down Squiggle at all, he's just competing against a lot of attention.
Yeah.
I actually think it's really surprising because Squiggle actually being able to do well on the Jax, I think Sin have a lot of tools that they can work with, maybe not as much direction. So I'm going to be interested to see how they play because I think, yeah, sure, he's opened up on the Jax, but I think he can play a little bit more.
I completely agree, but I think we have to go back to where will this game actually be carried from.
Sure.
And again, it's this identity that if Tainted Minds are playing, they carry through the bot lane. If Sin are playing, they carry through the mid lane. So you have very one-dimensional teams in their win conditions.
Raz, walk us through what this game means. So if Tainted Minds win this game,
they
end up in this, we're all tied up, right?
Yeah, pretty much you go into pretty much Fish goes into it. All these teams.
And then what happens?
The tiebreakers.
And the tiebreakers, the way it's set out is we just keep playing games until somebody wins.
It's
right?
a round robin, I believe, is how it sets up. So Team A plays B and C play A, and you go around. Whoever gets the 2-0. But if everyone goes 1-1, you just do it again.
Again and again and again. So Wednesday night could be a very long night from us. I saw on Twitter today, Rosie from Tainted Minds did a tweet we can see it up on the screen right now. Honestly, the most accommodating organization I've ever been a part of. We now have a good shot at making semis. Can't wait for what's to come. I was talking to you about this today, Raz. You were saying that it's good that he's found a home.
Yeah, not only just that, he's fairly happy, and I think has a lot of pride in the rest of his team and how far they've come along, right? They even went through the boot camp. So I think this team, they have a good amount of direction, and just the late run that they've had does mean a lot.
Yeah. So let's break it down. What does Tainted Minds, or what does Sin need to do to win to beat Tainted Minds? Because obviously Tainted Minds are the favorites here, right?
I'm going to throw this one to Raz because I know, Raz, you have a really strong opinion about the concept of how these two teams play.
Yeah, because Sin Gaming, if you look at each individual player, theoretically they have more tools and they have essentially better players overall. But it feels like Tainted Minds, they understand their strength. And they just kind of play through that consistently every game. They grind it out. They know what in fact, when they play Cassiopeia, sure, I don't have faith in Omni's Cassiopeia playing team fights, but they play Cassiopeia, they go to Baron, they do it quickly. They know what to do, and they play towards that single mind. Sin, I see confusion every time.
All right, let's go to predictions then. Frosco, thoughts? It's your boy Sin. It's your boy Sin.
Okay, here's the thing. I completely agree because Raz and we went back and forth on this forever. I completely agree with Raz's mentality, the thought process there is that 90% of the time, Tainted Minds, they're going to play through the bottom lane because they know this is how we win the game. Sin, theoretically, it's like Juve's Rymeister, but they only do that 40% of the time. You see that in their champions. The fact that Rymeister is picking up control mages like the Victor as opposed to just sticking to the assassin play. So I'm going to have to go with Tainted Minds. It reflects in them being higher up on the standings. I don't think, Sin, it's so clear. Play through mid, play a 1-3-1, but you guys just aren't doing it, and that's why you've fallen down into this sticky situation.
Just off that, too, they can play through top, they can play through bottom. They have the good players in those respective roles.
Yep.
Raps is good, Rogi, they have players, they have to play through a single identity, or at least, they can play through another identity, but they can just
theoretically, Rai, Juves are much stronger than Omni and Zahi.
Yeah.
If you compare them pound for pound. Again, Sin have, I think, like you said, more tools to win the game, but they just don't execute on that more times than not.
There's just more direction in in-game
So you're going with Tainted Minds as well, Raz?
Yeah, I would do it. And there's another tweet, too, that we haven't talked about that, after the game in which pretty much Tainted Minds almost won through that crazy Nexus push, right?
Yeah.
You just see Rosie saying that, well, we just need to be more decisive. So there's a lot of leadership. He takes it on himself.
All right. Well, after tonight, we may well see Tainted Minds on their way to the semis and the finals, which, as you know, are being held in Brisbane at the Piazza, which I'm told is one of the biggest poker stops in Brisbane. So, come along. It's August 13. Tickets are available now. If you can't get to Brisbane, the finals will be simulcast at Hoyt Cinemas in major cities all around Australia, and you can purchase tickets from the website that is on your screen right now. But that is enough from us here at the Analyst Desk. It's time to get into the game, so I'm going to hand it over to our casters for Game 1, Rogi and Rusty.
Thank you so much, Hingers. Rogi and Rusty here, looking to get you into game number 1 now. Rusty, we're on the horizon of a 3-way tie coming through here. But Sin, they got the potential to throw a spanner in the works. But of course, Tainted Minds, they're fresh off the boot camp. They're fresh off a win from last week. They got their eyes set on that playoff spot.
Yeah, this is a must-win for Tainted Minds. So they will put everything into every single game of this series. Sin are essentially being that blue shell, trying to cause an upset and cause a stir, maybe prevent the 3-way tie. But the analysts seem to agree. They think Tainted Minds are going to be able to beat Sin quite handily. We'll have to see if that actually comes true, because it's not an easy thing to do, beating Sin ever, unless you're the Chiefs, which just did it in 20 minutes.
Yeah, that was quite a stomping, that last game. But I'm sure they've had ample time to get that out of their mind, really recalculate and focus on how they want to play this game. But Tainted Minds, they aren't no slouch. A very convincing win, though it was a 2-1. But both games looked quite powerful for Tainted Minds here. And nothing's ever been more at stake for them right now.
Exactly. They came back from the boot camp and showed that they have a strategy now to win the game. They played 2 win conditions that were decent enough to actually get them the win against Avant, I believe it was, and cause that upset. So now moving into this game, Tainted Minds against Sin, they'd be the favorites, but Sin can be the ones to cause that upset.
That's exactly right here. So let's see if Tainted Minds have what it takes to push themselves over the line, get that 3-way tiebreaker set up. But Sin, they have the potential to kind of be the gatekeeper here. Bands coming through. We see the Bard and the Cassiopeia from Sin. Mentioned on the desk that kind of let Squiggle get his hands on Jax, or he's just going to run a rampage.
Yeah, absolutely right. So he has played that Jax to a high degree of success, but keeping in mind that teams like the Chiefs have been able to dismantle that Jax entirely, keep him down and cause some issues, but it seems that Praedyth is going to respect it, and Tainted Minds as a team also going to respect it.
Good to see Braum getting banned away. I find a lot of teams that really struggle is when it comes up against the Braum, when they have those pick compositions like the Malzahar, like the Elise, the Braum just gets in there and blocks a lot of their damage, and then they're kind of left just thinking, hey, we've used all our cooldowns, Braum blocked it all, we just got to run away. Vladimir being the last ban here from Sin Gaming.
Yeah, so blue side Vladimir ban. Showing respect, honestly. Seems like to Omni in particular. Rymeister, maybe it means that he can't play the Vladimir, but they've also banned away the Cassiopeia when they have first pick, so a lot of preference perhaps towards the jungle role, maybe the top lane instead. They have very defined purposes on the Sin roster, and it's a curious ban phase from them so far.
Looks like they really want to make sure that Rymeister has a very comfortable time in the mid lane. Rek'Sai being the last ban here, actually away from Tainted Minds. We've seen Zahi play quite a dominant Rek'Sai, but he does have the Gragas to fall back on also.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where they go from here as well, towards that first pick choice. The Rek'Sai's gone, so maybe Sin put a little bit of a heavier priority on the jungle role, but it seems they don't want to.
Just grabbing that Lucian straight away, taking it off the table for Lost. We've seen him do work on the Lucian as the likes of Ezreal also. So we do know that Lost does have that to fall back on, but very strong AD carry here, focus more on that damage position rather than the utility.
Yeah, but Raps has not succeeded too greatly by being the Lucian. It is definitely to take that from Lost. It has carried quite hard when given the Lucian in his hands at all. Interesting. Again, Sin have put a lot of their emphasis on taking away from Tainted Minds, not giving to themselves. They could have done better with even like a Gragas first rotation for themselves or something for Rogue. He might just default to that Alistar pick now.
And just sap away the strength that Tainted Minds have been shining with. Let's see how they answer here. Elise and Jhin, very fast lock-ins here. Great to see the Jhin, kind of the fourth of the 3 top-tier AD carries we've been seeing, the Lucian, the Ashe, and the Sivir. So much it does get boring after a while. Glad to see the Virtuoso making his return once again. The Elise, very standard pick when they are. If you're not feeling the Rek'Sai, if you're not feeling the Gragas, just lock in the Elise.
Yeah, so the Elise is always a staple now. Once you have that proto belt as well, you're able to catch people out. We saw Spooks using that quite successfully yesterday. The Jhin with it. It's a really good pick. It outranges the Lucian to an extent. It's actually just quite a strong champion in general, and it outranges a lot of people when it comes to team fighting and skirmishing once you hit that level 6 point.
I saw Rymeister on Twitter saying he really wants to play the Riven, but let's hope that it doesn't come to that. Because the last Riven we saw with Paradise didn't go so well. Was up in the top lane, but he won his lane, but eventually lost a lot of momentum for the team there. So let's see if Sin can pick something a little bit more sensible here. Counting down though, switching it to Thresh and the Gragas at the last second. It's always a pleasure to cast Rogue when he's playing Thresh.
Yeah, so Rogue gets his best champion. I think it's safe to say once again, the hook god himself. Juve's also rounding that out now by having the Gragas who can flash engage or cast to disengage. Has got a lot of availability there. And again, this seems like Sin might be going all in towards the pick composition. Perhaps Squiggle will look towards the Nautilus or something to that extent in the top lane. And what they seem to do, it's a very Sin thing that only really they do, is they put Rymeister on like a Kassadin to round that team composition out instead of something to complement them. And so that he disappears and Squiggle effectively becomes a second support.
Yeah, they've got some strange tendencies, this Sin Gaming squad. Let's hope that it doesn't kind of weigh them down coming into this game, because while it's more important, of course, for Tainted Minds, they need to win this to clinch their playoff spot, but Sin, they're still playing for all their pride. They're still playing in the OPL at the highest level that Oceania has to offer. That's no small thing to take away from it.
It definitely isn't. It's Tainted Minds. They decide what they want.
It looks like it will be the Leona and the Irelia. So Leona, very odd pick here. Haven't seen too much of her. Kind of cropping up here and there. Saw a couple of games in the OCS as well. It's going to be on Rosie, but Praedyth gets himself the Irelia.
Yeah, Praedyth locks down a strong champion for him. Not only that, Rosie's one of the few Leona players, full stop. Does make the champion work to a great degree of success and is usually countered by the likes of the Braum, which was banned away by them. So a cerebral draft phase a little bit here from Tainted Minds, opting towards that Leona, knowing it doesn't want to get countered.
Well, if there's one person that's going to be able to flay Leona out of her E, it is going to be Rogue's Thresh. So let's see if he can put that on point. But a very interesting pick here. Rymeister actually getting himself the Diana. Cool stuff.
Yeah, committing towards it, and it is blind. So you would expect an answer to be available from Omni here. Last time we saw a Victor pick into it, it got dismantled. And that was, of course, Direwolves. So Sin were able to exploit them a little bit there. Omni, not the same player as Fantix, a little bit less of the egocentric style. Of course, Fantix is a fantastic player.
Well, definitely. And Tainted Minds, like we said earlier in the desk, also reiterated that they have that they come fresh off that boot camp. So these guys spent a lot of time together. Rosie himself said it's a great organization, great team to be a part of. So let's see what they can pick here. High mechanical character or just lane control. Should be the victor though.
Yeah, not a surprise to actually see that locked in. The only reason I highlighted that Sin found success against the Victor was because they played around him quite well. And if it was Fantix that got exploited, Omni, you would expect, on paper, would be an easier person to exploit. But that's where Zahi comes into play. See if he can actually help his mid laner out. Rymeister, being on Diana, uses his health bar as a resource to actually get him through laning phase to be relevant the later the game goes.
It's going to be very scary if the Diana starts to get the ball rolling. Many a game I've been in where just get 100-0'd with no way to react. But Sin, they've got themselves a very interesting team composition. Up in that top lane, the Shen to kind of mitigate the damage output that Irelia can do in the 1v1. But Irelia just such a dominant force, and we've seen all the top-tier top laners of the OPL just really excel at this champion. So Praedyth, they mentioned on the desk that he's one of those carry top laners, and he's going to have to really showcase that tonight.
Absolutely. We look at how both of these teams win the game, and Tainted Minds is primarily through that bottom lane of Lost, Sin primarily through Rymeister in the middle lane, but that X factor could be seen in the top lane. That wildcard carry from either Squiggle or from Praedyth is always entirely possible, not exactly 100% though.
That's one of the benefits of Shen. You kind of less mechanical, just need to be there for your team, always providing that shield, that taunt, the Stand United, such a great utility spell.
And that's the big difference between the two. So Sin have actually drafted themselves to look after Rymeister to get into the backline together. They really do need Praedyth to step up, though, for Tainted Minds.
Alrighty, guys, if you want to see Sin throw a spanner in the works and completely mess up that three-way tie, hashtag Sin winner. If you want Tainted Minds to get one step closer to making playoffs, hashtag TM win. Show these guys some love, show them your support, and just get your voice out there and heard.
Tainted Minds' destiny is in their own hands. If they want to even have a shot at making the playoffs, they need to win this series right now to force that three-way tie that then they then need to come out of on top of that. This is not an easy feat for Tainted Minds to do, but it's entirely on them to do it.
Look, they were the big fish in a small pond when it came to OCS, but now they're in the OPL. Tainted Minds, can they do it? Their first split in OPL, make the playoffs. They're one series away from doing it, but Sin, the veteran team, they're looking to be that gatekeeper. They're looking to keep Tainted Minds at bay. Game number 1 of an excellent series to come.
Yeah, not only that, Tainted Minds and Abyss both in the running to make that 4th spot, both having come up from the OCS in the exact same split. Really impressive movements from both teams in general. But up against Sin, not always going to be as simple as it looks. They may be in the promotion tournament. They may have been finished 100% in that 7th place spot. But they can always take wins. They can always cause upsets.
Look, and there's no better competitive environment to play in, and at the end of the day, as a competitor, that's what you strive for. So there's no reason that Sin aren't going to be trying their hardest, taking every single game seriously. And these guys, they're very passionate players. There's no reason that they would not want to play to the best of their ability. Like you said, they are locked in 7th, but it's just a number to them at this stage. They want to play for pride. They want to play for keeps here.
A team working behind Juves is always going to be considered an emotional team. He's the rock, but he can also be the undoing. And losing's never fun.
That's exactly right. Here we're really seeing both of the bot laners start their respective jungle camps. Getting that level too early. Lucian likes to be nice and aggressive, all up in your face with that relentless pursuit as well as the Q. Looking for Rogue to make some early hooks with that Thresh. Did take Ignite while Rosie has the exhaust, so expect a lot of pressure coming out of Rogue's Thresh.
And so rule of thumb as well, when you look at supports and what summoners they're going to take, you have to press your tab button, see the entire completed team compositions and what they're capable of doing. Because now these two are just going to hit each other.
Yeah, Lost getting a great amount of damage down, just chunking Rogue to about half, doing the same to Raps, and Rosie kind of just sitting there as a level 1 Leona saying, what can I do to help? Let me know.
Yeah, walked up and stunned the Thresh, did his part when possible. But naturally has the exhaust and the ignite that you mentioned, and now they're just going to fight for that level 2 position, try and get the fight off at around that point.
Getting the nice Thunderlords proc, both top lane, mid laners actually trading back a little bit here, but Ryan, unfortunately, like you said, is going to have to be using that health bar as a resource here to kind of fight for every CS. Let's see how well Omni can punish him, though.
Yeah, so the fact that you get 2 shields when you're standing next to the minions means it's very hard to actually push you out of that middle lane. And just to bring it back as well to the bottom lane, something that's missing from Sin that they may have wanted is going to be an exhaust. Against that Aurelia, Sin have decided they want to have a kill threat in that lane so they can go for the ignite, maybe get an early gank off from Juves, but the opposite is being seen right now. Zahi is in.
Oh, Rogue might be in trouble, just getting layered with CC right now. One more attack should do it. First blood comes to Lost, and that's an excellent start for Tainted Minds.
Yeah, it definitely is. Of course, hitting one spell in a Leona Jhin lane that locks somebody in place, the follow-up's 100% guaranteed to happen. And so that first kill is all too easy when every single member of Tainted Minds has crowd control.
It's going to be very difficult to survive anything coming out of that bot lane. We still Lost. His W's have been on point from this earlier trades. Let's see if Juves can do something to answer here, because Zahi kind of making the first move in terms of that jungle game. Going down to the bot, and you said with the Ignite, you'd expect Sin to be the ones kind of going for that kill lane here, but it's Tainted Minds that draw first blood.
Yeah, you'd expect some kind of pressure, again, from Juves, but he was getting out jungled a little bit in the way of pathing. Aggressive movements from Zahi, and you'd expect in terms of jungle clear that it would be matched by Juves, yet he goes for an extra camp, I think it was. Ultimately, that separates them.
And they're kind of passing each other. I think Juves just finished up the red buff and was walking up to the Raptor camp, and that's when Zahi saw a nice opportunity to get in there, but
Exactly.
getting a nice stun up. Predator's been doing some nice little tricks here, going in, getting the stun, and dashing back behind him, trying to make sure he doesn't take too much damage. But Shen has a relatively easy time up against Leona, can kind of just chuck down that auto attack field, and what can Aurelia really do? That's where a majority of the damage comes from.
Well, exactly right. Not only that, the mana as a resource that an Aurelia has means sooner or later you will get out-sustained in the lane if trades are even, but Zahi's in.
Yeah, from top to bottom, doing the whole rotation of the map. Squiggle might be in trouble, uses the Shadow Dash to get through, but there is a beautiful cocoon. Here comes Juice, a nice flash at a Praetive, actually dodging the body slam here, but Juice, great timing to prevent the death of Squiggle.
Yeah, Squiggle actually moved towards Juves. It was quite telegraphed, and the ward was able to spot that Gragas. And so he flashes at the exact same time as the flash body slam. So good senses from Praetor. But Juves does have control of the jungle now on this top side of the map. Zahi has to recall.
Didn't burn any summoners, Squiggle that is, so great job of surviving that. Was looking quite grim for him. Good little grenade coming out, does hit Raps in the end. Going back, being able to buy himself that serrated Dirk, but now Omni in trouble, chucked down. The gravity field does stun up Rhymeister, might be able to walk his way out of this. Rye has to flash to get out of turret rage, and Omni, just with the ghost, escapes death.
Yeah, ends up being a summoner spell trade. Juves wishing he had that flash up a little bit earlier now. Doesn't come out in the way that Sin were looking for, but not level 6 for Rhymeister means that that kill threat was already lacking in the first place. It was more a teleport advantage and pressure under that turret, because Omni really does need to recall.
The top lane is going back to the top. Squiggle has hit level 6. Good trade onto Praetor. He's only got that Sheen, so no real combat stats just yet, where Squiggle picks himself up that Balmy Cinder, so the burn damage well and truly in effect. Juve's quite low on mana with Zahi. He's gone back and bought, so Juve's still sitting on his starting items here. Ryan might be in trouble. There comes a stun, Stand United keeping him safe, but Ryan, he wants his forces the flash actually.
He actually just made Zahi so scared. It was the communication, like Prototh actually cancelled the Shen ultimate, I believe.
Yeah.
And Zahi was just so concerned that that was going to go poorly for him. What a disaster.
Look, I'm sure he's seen Ryan Meister's Diana and knows
He doesn't know
the
magic
appropriate level
mantle.
of fear. He's strong, but
It's not that scary.
not that scary indeed. Not to mention he had about 20% health on top of that, but a lot of respect here. Very important game on the line for Tainted Mind, so maybe nerves are high. Adrenaline rushing. Lead to some questionable decisions here.
Yeah, not only that as well, like Zahi's now gone for the Boots of Lucidity. Doesn't go the Boots of Mobility build. Doesn't even go for the Aether Wisp to have extra ability power and move speed to compensate. Really wants that cooldown reduction, and that is a peculiar choice as Rogue's now looking.
Gone for the flash, lost, instantly flashes his way out of that one. Rosie still has summoners available. Looks like he's just going to sack himself. No, Zenith Blade's back through the team. Here comes Rap, the heal, baiting it out. Juice might die here. Juice goes down there. Rap's under tower. He's not going to get anything. He uses the heal, does get the kill, dies in return now. Lost, got his sights set onto Rogue. There's the ultimate one tick. One more should do it. A double kill, a triple kill for Lost.
Lost now 4-0 on that Jhin. Mid lane's fighting, but I don't know why Rhymeister's doing this now.
He really wants it. Has the shield still available, but Omni doesn't have
Omni
Chaos.
wants to die if he, yeah.
Doesn't have Chaos Storm, so Ryan trying to use basically that cooldown. It's kind of a timer for how long he can be aggressive for.
Makes sense, but the big benefactor at this stage in the game is going to be that bottom lane from Tainted Minds. He's not done, Rhymeister.
Oh no, just completely deletes poor Omni. All he wanted to ward, but looks like all he needed was that amplifying tome to be a real kill threat in the mid lane.
Yeah, he even wasted a pink ward for that. The vision was ultimately not that necessary from Rhymeister. We do get to see this bottom lane fight again. Rosie's the one taking the brunt of the damage here. And look at how long the exhaust is held onto for by Rosie till now. Same time as the heal. They get a free kill at the exact moment as Raps decides that he wants the kill. He doesn't want the kill. He really wants the kill. And things just unfold so poorly for Sin. They put it into effect. They use all of their summoners aggressively, but they can't round it out as efficiently as they would like with the kills. And now that's a Ghost Blade to components.
Yeah, a 9-minute Ghost Blade on Lost. This is going to be very difficult for Sin to really utilize their kind of ignite here and that kill lane pressure they wanted.
And it's not just a Ghost Blade, it's Lost with a Ghost Blade. And how do Tainted Minds win on Summoner's Rift? Usually through their bottom lane AD carry and support duo. They're both monstrously large as a duo lane at the moment, and all they really need to do on the side of Tainted Minds is exploit the now strength that they have and forcing weaknesses in Sin.
That's one of the things, right? That wasn't even a Tainted Minds play that got Lost ahead. Sure, it was that first time, but it was Sin instigating the gank coming from Juves, and it all just kind of went downhill. Now Zahi, he knows where he needs to be. He needs to make sure that this bot lane just snowballs out of control. Not to say that it already hasn't. First Dragon is the Inferno Drake, and when your bot lane is ahead, why not set your sights to it?
Yeah, it looks like they want to wait for the Scuttlecrab vision to end. Should be around the same time as the wards that are actually established by Sin to stop it from happening. But once again, Juves is now top lane, and Praetor needs to be careful.
Just taunted up here, still has flash
Got
available.
him.
Juves, beautifully done. Hits the ulti as well now, Praetor. No real way he's getting out of this with his life. Juves just making sure that he can't do any shenanigans to the minions. Not going to happen, though. He'll be giving that one over. Actually, Squiggle gets it.
Yeah, gets the auto attack at the same time as the Q comes out of Praedyth. And now Squiggle gets himself a kill. He's on the board, and he's going to be quite a large Shen. This is the real problem, though, for Tainted Minds. If we want to contrast where they have a 4-0 Jin, well, they now have a 1-0 Diana to contend with, who's getting the farm, getting the items, and can blow Lost up.
Now, that seems to always be the kind of thing that slows down Tainted Minds from really taking off is when Lost gets ahead, the rest of the team seems to struggle. Omni in the mid. There is the ulti coming out of Shen. One more attack should do it. Ulti coming through. Omni, he's still alive. No, the Shadow Dash gets him. Rai flashes out of tower range. Praedyth came in, but on the top side there is Juves as well. They're just going to trade for the Dragon.
Yeah, well, flashes out of tower range and out of Praedyth range, who didn't have a flash of his own. So Aurelia can't follow it up, can't get those kills. Teleport takes a longer time than that of a Shen ultimate. And so it's going to be useful now that Sin get a second kill onto their top laner. They already have a big mid laner to work around, but unfortunately they bleed that objective. Tainted Minds roster were looking to trade, as speaking of teleports, it's pretty deep from old Rymeister, and he saw you there. Let's just have a good time, shall we? Let's hang out.
Just does the laughter style Zahi. Does get spotted out by a ward, so Sin is going to know where the jungler is.
Bet he wants that teleport now, huh?
That's exactly
What's
right.
he doing?
He's just hanging around. I guess he thought he was unseen. Maybe he thought Praedyth was going to come back down. But it gave Squiggle a bunch of free time to kind of just start auto-attacking the top lane tower, get some good damage down onto it. Omni's sitting on the Victor, so all he has to do is just clear the wave, keep it where he wants. And Juve's just hanging around that mid, but spending a lot of time down in the spot lane. Rogue just trying to bait it out. Throws in the lantern, spots out Zahi. So good 30 seconds on Zahi. Omni just starting to chunk. I mean, Rymeister getting the chunk onto Omni.
Yeah, Omni's basically out of this lane. At this point, every time that he gets hit by a Diana Q, he gets the ultimate combo, half his health is gone.
Yeah.
That is not going to actually change from here. In fact, it gets worse for him as items are completed by Rymeister, namely the Abyssal Scepter, which will be the next thing that he looks towards purchasing. Past that point, Omni just needs to pray.
Praedyth, he's got a very scary lane ahead of him. Zahi actually going to get spotted out by Juves and Raihi. Can he get anything? Where's the barrel? He's going to get repelled.
No!
And that's it. He gets destroyed. Rymeister eats him from about 70% of his health in half a second. Probably less than that even.
He didn't even hit the Q. What? It's a lot of damage.
Yeah, just went for the double. Looks like Raptor's getting
he's in
chunked
trouble.
out. He is able to grab the lantern, but there is a curtain call. Forced to flash out of the range. Just going to use the rest of the shots onto Rogue. Omni making his way down, but with no summoners available, doesn't really have the presence of the Diana right now.
No, but the presence of the Shen is definitely enough for Sin at this point in the game. They have found themselves with this turret crashing at a gold advantage to their opponents of Tainted Minds. They're not going easy on them, and that is for certain.
Tainted Minds, they've got an excellent lead in their bot lane, but the rest of the map definitely skewed in favor of Sin right now. So how best can Sin use this to their advantage to ensure that this Jhin just doesn't become uncontainable? I'm sure Rymeister might have a thing or two to say about Lost Jhin, and that's one of the downsides of a Jhin Leona lane. They can't really escape.
I mean, there's actually a couple of cool contrasts to make here. So Praedyth has gone for the Wit's End build so that he has magic resistance. However, that magic resistance doesn't give you health and needs to stack up.
Yeah.
You go against Diana, who can sit in a bush and burst you out initially, has the Abyssal Scepter to counteract that to a degree. Might still be able to win that 1v1. Doesn't mean it's ideal. What you'd actually expect here is once the teleport is up and available for Rymeister, he might actually go to that side lane, try and put the 1v1 or the 1-3-1 into effect. Start trying to play the map, force Tainted Minds to run around, because it feels like Tainted Minds are good when trading, good when ahead, but not as capable when actually behind. And if they can just keep Lost down or neutral to where he is, they might still get themselves that victory in this game. This could definitely go either way, however, at this point.
The Sin bot lane's still really struggling because Lost, he's got himself that Berserker's Greaves, and at that stage it's just damage boots for the Jhin.
I don't think Omni knows how dead he is every single time he walks into that lane now.
Looks like Sin outside of the Rift Herald here. Good ward coverage. Rymeister also making his way down just to ensure. He's basically just playing body block right now, make sure that Omni can't go over for something sneaky here. He's showing up, he's got
He might take it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised actually. Does a great job on Diana.
I'll take Sin composition for 500.
Let's see if he can burst down someone even quicker than he did with Zahi. It's going to be hard pressed to do so, but now he's got himself that Rift Herald buff. Up on the top, no tower. Praedyth, he might be in trouble, gets taunted up, does have the flash available. So does Juves, though. How can he go for this one? Flashes over the body slam, well timed, but might be in trouble. Excellent barrel, very risky though.
Juves has body slam in 3 seconds.
Praedyth just trying to go for some sneaky here. Not going to matter as Sin picks up another kill in the top lane.
Yeah, pretty simple pickup. And once again, the second Squiggle gets his Titanic Hydra, we'll have enough wave clears. Now 3-0 on that Shen. Tainted Minds are trying consistently to play this map, but if Rymeister shows up...
Great Cocoon to stop the initiate here, but flashes over the wall onto Rosie, forcing the flash of his own. Squiggle didn't come with him on that one, though.
That's not worth it, unfortunately, for Rymeister, because that's the big carry threat. The mid laner missing his flash to a Leona missing hers. Still favors Tainted Minds to a degree. They did disengage well.
Sin grouping as 5 in the mid lane once Juves gets there, trying to get this tower down. Chaos Storm used as a deterrent. Not doing a lot of damage, though. A lot of magic resistance early out of Rymeister. Allows him to kind of just tank that one up. Lost. Free farm in the bot lane. Should be getting that tower. Sin get there in time. Teleport coming through. Who's it going to be?
2 of them. No, 1. Just the 1.
Just gets cancelled away. Lost gets the tower and gets out of there in time. It was Rymeister's TP. So 2 unsuccessful TPs for Rymeister so far.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. So Sin missing the teleport on their mid laner, someone they love to put in side lanes, will not happen unless they use him as their avenue of attack. So what you might expect here is that Squiggle still has the teleport of his own, will 100% maintain side lane pressure, but every time his ult is up, wherever Rymeister is, he's going to put the ult on him. Going to try and shield him up. They're going to try and assassinate whoever is there.
Squiggle just sitting on the combination cost for that Titanic Hydra. Should be getting that one up very soon. They should have no trouble with the Sunfire and the AoE damage. Should just clear that one up. Keep Praedyth pushed to his tower. And it's going to be very hard to match the map control that Sin have, especially with the Stand United. 2 teleports as well. Rai just needs to really kind of check his values on where he chooses to use the teleports here.
Yeah, and Raps is still going to be reasonably relevant when you think about it. So a Lucian running for a Black Cleaver build isn't the be-all, end-all of utility. If you want to compare it to an Ezreal, Ashe, Sivir, Jhin, they all have more utility. You can still reduce the armor of the people that you're hitting with that Black Cleaver, so we'll still have his use. Can sit back within culling range and take people out and assassinate people. I think he's done well.
Rymeister was very patient in that bot lane, just trying to wait for someone to come, but once he saw everyone from Tainted Minds on that dragon, trying to trade it for some mid damage here. Good Lantern from Rogue keeps Raps safe, but now they're up on the top side of the opposite team jungle with no teleport available for Rymeister, and he's left alone in the bot. Can Tainted Minds collapse on this? Better yet, can Sin do anything about it?
So they just saw the ward die on top of them. They knew there was vision there. Sin aren't able to get anything done, but they're now starting to play around their pink wards, working around vision that Tainted Minds don't have, being invisible, whilst Rymeister puts in work on that side lane using the Rift Herald buff.
Omni not doing a hell of a lot of damage right now, barely tickling Juves with that Death Ray, and if you look at his build, he's only sitting on really the completed Hex Core as well as the Negatron Cloak, so forced to get the magic resistance early, had to respect the Rymeister damage, and we've seen why time and time again this game.
Yeah, and early Merc treads as well as a tiny bit of magic resistance to be seen from a lot of Sin, denying a fair bit of crowd control that's available to the opposite side of the Rift. When you think of Rosie lost, Omni and Zahi all coming together, even the Equilibrium strike from Praedyth can stun you. They deny a lot of that with their early tenacity pickups, and it's going to be super handy for mid-game skirmishing for Sin.
Let's see what Sin can do. They've got their advantages where they want them right now. They know that they can't really do much about the Jhin. He's getting to that point where just going to start scaling more and more AD up. Shen's got that Titanic Hydra completed. Neutral objectives have gone in favor of Tainted Minds. They did get themselves 2 dragons already. Sin still holding the gold lead by about 2,500 at the moment. Tainted Minds really just looking for an avenue to catch back up in. Good trades coming out of Squiggle on the top though.
Yeah, he'll win most trades whenever his W is available. Praedyth, you would expect, can out-sustain, but not to that great of an extent at the moment. Actually runs out of mana before anybody starts to bleed. Once again, Sin, they're able to play this a little bit more cautiously. Just work around having a winning mid lane and top lane duo, top half of the map. Should be favoring them. Whenever they choose to pull that trigger, they can.
Might be now. There comes the Shen ulti, but they've hooked onto Zahi. He's got nowhere to go with no health bar left. He gets deleted. Here comes Juice, flashes and catches Rosie. Poor Leona, double kill for Rhymeister though.
Juice has been hitting the mark with these explosive casks on the first one, and the hook does not connect. Sin now looking to potentially siege. This one's going to be really hard to prevent them.
Forces a flash out of Lost as well. Good flash out of Road. There comes a curtain call down. Should be enough to keep them at bay with no minion support, but still about 10 seconds left on the jungler and support from Tainted Minds. Sin, they're sticking around for this mid-inner.
Wait for the hook to connect and follow it up. They've got the Shen taunt, the Gragas body slam, and they've got enough damage to kill anybody that gets too close on the side of Tainted Minds. And now Sin brute force their way through. There is nothing that Zahi can do. He's such a fragile champion, and he's still building damage.
They're going for that proto belt, as we can see the components all lining up. Tainted Minds looking to answer by rushing down the mid lane of their own. They want to get this mid lane adder while Sin are low on health.
Yeah, good call.
Shouldn't be anything that Sin can do to defend this. But it wasn't inner for an outer, but Tainted Minds making the best of a bad situation. But Rise teleported in behind. Here comes Squiggle. He gets the nice. He's onto Lost. Flashes out of the way. Squiggle, they've been stunned up by the Gratitude Omni. He gets taken down without a second notice. There is Rhymeister in the front. Rosie can't do anything to stop his carry from going down. And Sin are going off right now.
Yeah, this Diana, I have no idea how he got through that entire fight and basically still had full health up until the very end. They look like they want to make a play for Baron, but this is super aggressive. They're actually missing a lot of their health bars. This just comes down to if Rhymeister can keep away the Elise. And it seems like he's able to do so. This should be Sin's major objective win.
Only flash available
They
for
don't die
Zahi,
to
and
it.
he's on the opposite side of the map. They really need Rhymeister to tank this one up with
He
that
ulted.
double shield. Ulting it away. It's down to 2,000 health. No one from Tainted Minds is going to be showing their face. So Sin, off the back of 3 kills, pick up the Baron and a nice 6,000 gold lead.
The raid boss finally goes down. The Baron buff has been slain. And Sin now in the driver's seat to close out this first game. The Diana is something else whenever Rhymeister plays it. A champion that usually gets banned away from him, and for very good reason. If you ever play a jungler that can be exploited, you ever give them Shen with Diana, you actually just give all of the tools to Sin to close out and win a game. Not too sold on the strategy of Tainted Minds coming through this pick and ban phase, and this is why.
Sin really showing their strengths here. We thought they were going to be taking away Tainted Minds' resources, but at the end, they showed their true colors, showed that they had that Shen and the Diana combo ready to go.
So that's the beauty of it, right? Granted, they did take a lot away from them. They were still getting themselves a comp in the end. Rap's playing Lucian, maybe not as efficient as he would like to be. It's not his Ezreal, it's not a Sivir to augment the team, but it takes it away from Lost.
Solar Flare comes in, beautiful Lantern from Rogue keeps him safe. Now they've got their sights set on this bot lane out of Baron minions pushing through as well. Sin well and truly in the driver's seat right now. Rhymeister, he's picked himself up that Nash's Tooth as well as the making of Azonia's Hourglass. So he wasn't hard to kill before, he's going to be even harder.
Yeah, especially when every time the Shen uses the ult, it's going to be on top of him. No one's going to die here unless they all in commit with the Leona ulti.
Oh, Leona might be in trouble though. Remember, she has no ulti available. Use it out in that bot lane. Here comes Juice, gets a nice double barrel onto Omni. Where is Squiggle? Getting the ulti onto Rhymeister. He's in the fight. Look how much shield
He's
this
so
Diana
big.
has. There's no way that Tainted Minds can hold.
No, there's like 20 seconds on the Leona. That's at least the first inhibitor to fall. This is such a commanding game number 1 from Sin. They really are stamping their foot down. They're looking towards closing out this game.
What an impressive showing for them if they can pull this off. The closest member is Leona on 5 seconds. Praetor, he's coming in trying to take down one. Does get the kill onto the Diana, but still 4 members strong for Sin. They get both the Nexus towers. Looking for that last one. Looking for the Nexus. What can Rosie do to defend it? The next member lost. He's coming up in 1 second. Nexus down to half health. Sin, they've got the victory in their eyes. They're looking for a few more attacks to do it. Lost gets 1 kill. Can Juice do it? He's stunned up. They get it. Sin take game number 1.
Sin in 24 minutes in the last week of the OPL are able to upset game number 1, find the victory against Tainted Minds, and now push them to the wire where everything's on the line in the second game for this team. What a way to kick it off.
Look, Tainted Minds, we know their strategy is get that bot lane ahead, and from a 4-0 Jin to losing the game in 24 minutes, we're going to chuck it back to the desk to let us know what they thought.
Welcome back to the OPL. Thank you, casters. Yes, if you're just joining us, Sin have taken out favourites, Tainted Minds, in Game 1. Frosco, when we were talking earlier, we were saying that you said that Sin, if they get to play that game, they want to play 40% of the time, they could take this. And they did, I guess. The Tainted Minds weren't able to hold them back.
It was pretty funny. We literally got, and they can attest to this, we got into Green Room, I saw Sin's composition, I said, oh my god, Sin have just won the game.
Yeah.
And then it's, again, we said this on the desk. You know, Sin, they have so many more tools than Tainted Minds to actually win the game. Tainted Minds, they have a bot lane. That's what they're all about. Omni, Zahi, Praedyth hasn't been showing up. Omni and Zahi, they're just there to prop up the bot lane. We saw that initial gank. They took the Elise. They got the snowball. It's all going good for them. But Sin, you know, they've had they have the bot lane and Rogue and Raps. They just have to survive. They've got the Fed mid laner and Juves and Rymeister to go, and they just need to get them snowballing. But they only do it 40% of the time.
Yeah.
And it's just like, Sin, just do that 100% of the time, and you'll win so much more.
Yeah, Raz. I mean, do you have anything to say about the comp? Because you were saying backstage that they made a comp that was able to counter Lost. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it just comes down to the team identities, right? You pretty much talk about Sin identity. They play the assassins. They play towards Rymeister. And so we had a situation where all of the kills were on Jhin, exactly how we usually expected from Tainted Minds. And it was kind of split in terms of where the gold was, but pretty much Diana was sitting tight and Shen was doing well for himself. So it's like, okay, so Diana, Shen versus the Jhin, and of course a Victor. Take your picks, like choose who you want. That one of them is going to die. And so it really just came down to execution, which, like, they must have heard me when I was talking about focus and direction, because this is the Sin that we kind of wanted to see for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, 10 weeks in, sure, but this is you know, picture perfect Sin.
Well, all right. What do they need to do what does Tainted Minds need to do to get back in this?
I actually think they need to swap junglers and
Right.
the champions specifically. So we had Juves on Gragas and we had Zahi on Elise. And I agree with the mentality of the Elise, especially because, you know, finding that snowball, although I think it would work slightly better for Sin. Because, again, Sin want to snowball the mid lane. I think Elise does that a lot better. But I agree with having a Gragas. I mean, Rek'Sai was banned, Elise got picked up, so kind of the third best option is to go back to that Gragas.
Yeah.
But it's like, if your AD carry is your strong champion, then you want the Gragas because you want to be able to disengage. Because that was the one thing that Tainted Minds didn't have, is that if someone does jump back onto Lost, they don't have anything to reset the fight. Rosie is on Leona. You have a Victor, so as soon as the gravitational field goes down, they're just going to run through you. And you have an Elise, so you're set up to make picks, but you're not set to reset fights.
Right. Well, we have a lot to think about, and we'll be back with Game 2 right after this.